Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Ashwarya Kapoor. First up, here is wishing you all a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. And now a quick look at the top stories in the headlines. Cabinet clears plan to electrify last leg of over 13,000 route kilometers of railway tracks. Task likely to be completed by 2021-22, providing seamless operation of traffic across rail network. Railways expected to save over 13,500 crore rupees per annum in fuel bills. 328 fixed-dose combination drugs banned with immediate effect by the Health Ministry. Ban in larger public interest after no therapeutic justification for the combination drugs were found and risk to humans came to light. Election Commission looking into possibility of holding simultaneous assembly elections in 5 states. Poll body may consider wrapping up poll process in Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Telangana by the second week of December. India beat arch rivals Pakistan 3-1 to enter the final of the SAF football tournament in Dhaka. They will now play Maldives as they look to bag their 8th title. And a 10-day-long Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations begin from today. Devotees queue up at Mumbai's famous Ganesh pandals to see the elephant god in all his grandeur. Vice President and Prime Minister greet people on the occasion. Our top story this morning, in relief to farmers, the government on Wednesday gave its approval to the new procurement policy for crops, and the decision was taken in the cabinet meeting headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The cabinet also approved the proposal to electrify last leg of more than 13,000 route kilometers of railway tracks. The process that is likely to be completed by 2021-22 is expected to save fuel bill to the carrier of over 13,500 crore rupees per annum.
The centre on Wednesday announced a new scheme to ensure that farmers growing pulses and oilseeds benefit from higher minimum support prices announced by the government recently. Named Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Abhiyan, the new scheme will be a mix of sub-schemes that will involve direct procurement from farmers under Price Support Scheme or PSS, paying them for losses incurred when wholesale market prices are lower than announced MSPs under Price Deficiency Payment Scheme or PDPS, and procurement by private traders at MSP. The centre has provided 16,550 crore rupees as bank guarantee for its agencies to directly procure from farmers under PSS.
वास्तव में किसानों की आय की संरक्षा में भारत सरकार द्वारा ये ऐतिहासिक कदम उठाया गया है तथा आशा की जाती है कि इस कदम से लंबे समय तक किसानों का कल्याण होता रहेगा। इस स्कीम में किसानों के लिए लाभकारी मूल्य सुनिश्चित करने तथा तंत्र विकसित सहित मूल्य समर्थन योजना, भावांतर योजना और पायलट निजी खरीद एवं स्टॉकिस्ट योजना शामिल है।
The cabinet also approved raising prices at which oil marketing companies will buy ethanol from sugar mills at 59.13 rupees per litre, up from 47.13 rupees per litre. It also approved an over 25% hike in the price of ethanol produced directly from sugarcane for blending in petrol.
गन्ना किसानों को राहत मिले, इसीलिए शुगर इंडस्ट्री स्टेबलाइज हो। सिर्फ शुगर नहीं, देश की इंपोर्ट डिपेंडेंसी भी घटे, एथेनॉल प्रोडक्शन बढ़े। इसके कारण हमारी देश की शुगर केन इंडस्ट्री में एक नई उछाल आएगी। देश की ट्रांसपोर्ट इंडस्ट्री में किसानों की उपज लिंक होगा।
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved electrification of remaining unelectrified broad gauge routes of Indian Railways. Under this, 13,000 km of unelectrified routes will be electrified at a cost of 12,000 crore rupees. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to the other top story. The Health Ministry has banned the manufacture, for sale or the distribution of 328 fixed drug combination drugs with immediate effect. Fixed dose combination drugs, or the FDCs, are two or more drugs that are combined in a fixed ratio into a single dosage form. In March 2016, the Health Ministry had prohibited the manufacture of 349 FDCs, but the matter was contested by the affected manufacturers in the court. However, an expert panel formed last year in a report said that the ingredients in 328 FDCs involve risks to human beings and recommended that these drugs must be prohibited from manufacture and sale. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address BJP's booth-level cadres through his app today at 10:30 a.m. The interaction will take place with the booth-level cadres of 5 chosen constituencies today. Now, these are Jaipur Rural, Hazaribagh, Nevada, Arunachal West and Ghaziabad. The constituencies are represented by union ministers. The Prime Minister will instruct the workers what to do to mobilize people on the ground right at the booth level in the run-up to state elections and the 2019 Lok Sabha polls. And veteran BJP leader LK Advani has been re-nominated as the chairman of the Lok Sabha Ethics Committee by Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. The committee examines the complaints relating to unethical conduct by the members of parliament. And according to a Lok Sabha bulletin, it is also free to take up suo motu investigation into the matters relating to ethics and unethical conduct by a member whenever necessary and make such recommendations as it may deem fit. P. Karunakaran has also been re-nominated as the chairman of the committee on absence of members from the sittings of the House, while Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank will head the committee on government assurances. And Chandrakant P. Khere was re-nominated as the chairman of the committee on papers laid on the table, and Dilip Kumar Mansukh Lal Gandhi as the chairman of the committee on subordinate legislation. The Election Commission is looking at the possibility of holding assembly elections in Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Telangana together. The poll process in the 5 states could be completed by the second week of December. A senior poll functionary told PTI that going by the past poll schedules, Chhattisgarh could have polls in 2 phases, while in the remaining states, the exercise could be completed in a single phase. Stepping up preparations for conducting assembly elections in Telangana, the Commission had announced on Saturday that the final voter list will be published on 8th of October. And after that, the new roll is published. The Commission will be legally ready to announce the poll schedule. The Supreme Court on Wednesday directed the chief secretaries of all states, including registrar generals of the high courts, to furnish details of the criminal cases pending against MPs and MLAs. The apex court also asked whether these cases have been transferred to the special courts set up in pursuance to its December 2017 order to try them. A 3-judge bench of the court sought information whether special courts set up in pursuance of its order were functional. It also sought to know whether, in view of the volume of the cases pending, there was a need of additional special courts to try lawmakers that are facing criminal cases. The court order came after the Union Ministry of Law and Justice filed an affidavit on 11th of September, which said that a total of 1,233 criminal cases were transferred to the special courts. Of these, 136 have been disposed of, and the remaining 1,097 were pending. Air Chief Marshal Dhanoa on Wednesday said that India is facing a grave threat from its adversaries, and government's decision to procure French Rafale fighter jets and Russia's S-400 air defense missile system will help fill the gap in Indian Air Force's combat capacities. The Air Chief also said that in the wake of the threat being faced by our country, it is crucial that India matches the force levels of its adversaries.
Indian Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa on Wednesday strongly defended the government's decision to procure only 36 Rafale fighter jets against the original proposal of 126 aircraft, saying there have been similar emergency acquisitions in the past. He said that no country is facing the kind of grave threat that India is.
आपको मैंने क्या बताया, हिस्टोरिकली कितने स्कॉन्ड खरीदे हैं सरकार ने जब भी इमरजेंसी परचेज करी। आप हिस्ट्री तो पढ़ते नहीं हो, हिस्ट्री पढ़ो ना। हर बार तो हमने 2 स्कॉन्ड खरीदे हैं इमरजेंसी।
Addressing a seminar in New Delhi, Dhanoa said the intentions of India's adversaries can change overnight. He said that China is significantly modernizing its air force and that the Indian Air Force is reeling under a severe shortage of fighter aircraft at a time that the country faces security challenges from 2 nuclear-powered neighbors.
Since our neighbors have replaced their 2nd and 3rd generation aircraft, modern aircraft, we also have to upgrade equally. Secondly, we need numbers to carry out full spectrum operations. We have to match the force level of our adversaries so that we can fight simultaneously on 2 fronts. These force levels will give us a conventional deterrence against our neighbors.
The Air Force Chief said by providing the Rafale jets and the S-400 missile defense system, the government is strengthening the Indian Air Force to counter any shortfalls. The Air Chief Marshal said the force currently has 31 squadrons of fighter jets against the sanctioned strength of 42 squadrons. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And according to the data released by Central Statistics Office, industrial production grew at 6.6% in the month of July on the back of good performance by the manufacturing sector and higher offtake of capital goods and consumer durables. Factory output measured in terms of the index of industrial production had expanded by just 1% in July last year. The IIP growth for June was also revised downwards to 6.8% from the provisional estimate of 7% released last month. The manufacturing sector recorded a 7% growth in July as against a contraction of 0.1% in the same month a year ago. The consumer durable sector recorded an impressive growth of 14.4% in July against a dip of 2.4% a year ago. And in terms of industries, 22 out of 23 industry groups in the manufacturing sector showed positive growth during July 2018. Meanwhile, the retail inflation recorded a 10-month low of 3.69% in August, mainly due to a fall in prices of kitchen items, including fruits and vegetables. The inflation based on consumer price index stood at 4.17% in July and 3.28% in August 2017. The CPI inflation was at 3.58% in October 2017 and has remained above RBI's target rate of 4% since then. The RBI will be factoring in inflation data while deciding the interest rate at its next bi-monthly monetary policy meeting on 5th of October. And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break here. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back after the break. Finance Minister Arun Jaitly has slammed liquor baron Vijay Mallyas' claims that he met him with an offer of settlement before leaving for London. The Finance Minister said that nothing can be further from the truth as the claims are factually false. In a sharp rebuttal, Jaitly also said that since 2014, he has never given any appointment to Malya either at his office or his residence. Jaitly demanded that Malya come out with the facts.
Where he claims to have met me with an offer of settlement. Nothing could be further from truth. I have never given him an appointment, never at my office, never at my residence. Nor have I ever offered to meet him. I do remember on one occasion, he misused his privilege as a member of Rajya Sabha. And while I was walking out of the Rajya Sabha to my room, he paced up towards me in the Parliament building and suggested that he was going to make some offer of settlement. I did not even bother to get any detail from him. I curtly told him that he must go and make it to the bankers, because I was fully aware that he had been bluffing on several occasions in the past and had no intention of paying back the bankers' money. Besides this one sentence exchanged, where he literally barged on to me while I was walking and tried to make some offer or a suggestion which I refused to entertain. There is no question of my having ever met him, spoken to him. I even did not receive any paper from him at that time. And therefore, to convey an impression that he met me with an offer of settlement, well, if this is what he is referring to, then I'm sure this is factually not correct. He must come out with the complete facts.
And in related news, the UK court has fixed 10th of December as the date to deliver its verdict on whether Vijay Mallyas can be extradited to India. The charges against him is of fraud and money laundering amounting to around 9,000 crore rupees. Vijay Mallyas has now been bailed to appear before the court on 10th of December, marking the conclusion of the year-long extradition trial, which opened on 4th of December last year. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj will begin a two-day visit to Russia today. Sushma Swaraj will co-chair the 23rd India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Technical and Economic Cooperation with the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia. The commission is a standing body which annually meets and reviews ongoing activities of bilateral cooperation in the fields of bilateral trade and investment, science and technology, culture and other issues of mutual interest. Sushma Swaraj's visit to Moscow comes ahead of Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India next month for the annual bilateral summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And now a look at the events that are lined up for the day. Here is the day ahead. The Supreme Court will deliver verdict on petitions seeking restoration of the stringency of Section 498A. Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code provides for the arrest of the husband and his relatives on the complaint of a wife alleging cruelty meted out to her because of dowry. The top court had earlier reserved its verdict on the matter on 23rd of April last year. A two-judge bench of the Supreme Court had stopped immediate arrest of the accused under the anti-dowry harassment law, saying that the law was being misused by women. A bus service will be launched between Nepal's capital Kathmandu and Bodh Gaya today. Nepal Minister for Physical Planning and Transport Raghubir Mahaset will flag off the bus from Swayambhu, a famous Buddhist heritage site in Kathmandu, in the presence of Indian Ambassador to Nepal Manjeev Singh Puri. The bus service between the two cities is aimed at promoting pilgrimage tourism between Nepal and India. And Delhi University students voted for the elections to the Students' Union Office bearers on Wednesday, and the counting will be held today. The voting was for the elections, which will decide the fate of 23 candidates who are fighting for various central panel positions in the Delhi University Students' Union, or DUSU. The major student organizations which are in the fray are NSUI, ABVP and CYSS in alliance with AISA. And now news from post-flood Kerala, with mercury levels rising and reports of abnormal drying up of rivers and wells. The state government has now decided to conduct scientific studies on the phenomenon. The Chief Minister of the state, Pinarayi Vijayan, has directed the State Council for Science, Technology and Environment to carry out studies and suggest possible solutions to the problems. A series of issues, including a soaring mercury level, unprecedented dip in water levels of rivers, sudden drying up of wells, depletion of groundwater reserves, and mass perishing of earthworms, have caused widespread concern. Many rivers, including Periyar, which were in spate during the days of flood, are now getting dried up and their water levels having decreased abnormally. Besides the drying up of wells, their caving in was also reported in many districts. The flood had alerted the topography of the land in many places, and several kilometer long cracks have been developed especially in high ranges of Idukki and Wayanad. Now, news from the United States, where more than 15 million people are under storm watches and warnings as Category 3 Hurricane Florence approaches the U.S. states of North Carolina and South Carolina. Decreasing in strength but expanding in size, Hurricane Florence is within 36 hours of making landfall on the southeast coast, where it will unleash damaging winds and enormous amounts of rain. More than 1 million people living in the southeast coast have been ordered to evacuate. Florence is expected to be the most intense storm to strike the region in at least 25 years. A state of emergency has been declared in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia and Maryland in preparation for the significant rainfall, flooding, storm surge and damaging winds from Florence. And as a precautionary measure, some flights will not fly in the Carolinas starting Thursday.
We're ready for our recovery and response, and we'll wait until that storm gets here. Hopefully it can be as lessened an impact as possible, but we're going to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So clearly this storm is going to have an economic impact. We don't know how much. But right now, we are concerned about the safety and security of people. We don't want to lose one North Carolina life to this storm.
And all the sporting action now. India defeated arch rivals Pakistan 3-1 to sail into the final of the SAF Cup. For defending champions India, Manveer Singh struck twice in the second half before Sumit Passi scored a late goal to seal the victory for India. Manveer scored the opener in the 49th minute of the match, and 20 minutes later he struck his second to double the scoreline. Passi then scored the third goal for India in the 83rd minute to seal the victory for India. India will now face Maldives in the final on Saturday, that defeated Nepal 3-0 in the first semi-final to book their place in the final. And former Indian hockey captain Sardar Singh on Wednesday announced his retirement from international hockey after an illustrious career spanning 12 years. Sardar Singh said that he made the decision after a disappointing Asian Games where India failed to defend its title and returned with a bronze medal. He further added that it is time for the future generation to take over. The 32-year-old made over 350 international appearances for India and captained the national team for 8 long years from 2008 to 2016 before handing the responsibility to PP Srijesh. Sardar Singh was also the youngest player to captain the Indian team, where he led the side at the 2008 Sultan Aslan Shah Cup as well. He received the Arjun Award in 2012 and Padma Shri in 2015. Sardar has represented India in 2 Olympics as well. An Indian men's doubles pair of Manu Atri and B. Sumit Reddy entered the quarterfinals of the Japan Open Badminton tournament. Atri and Reddy defeated Olympic silver medalist Go Wee Chem and Tan Wee Keong of Malaysia 15-21, 23-21, 21-19 in a 54 minutes long match. The duo will next face China's He Jiting and Tang Qiang in the BWF World Tour Super 750 tournament. And India beat China 3-0 in the Group C League match to keep its hopes alive for qualifying for the knockout phase in the WSF Women's World Team Squash Championship in China. Sunaina Kuruvilla set the tone for India with a win over China's top player Li Dongjin. Then Tanvi Khanna increased the lead with a win over Zheng Zipeng 11-5, 11-5, 11-7. While in the next game, Aparajita Balamrukan completed the formality to make it 3-0. India will now face France in its last group match today, which will be a decider for India to progress to the knockout phase. That's it in this edition of Breakfast News. But before we wrap up, a look at the celebrations across India welcoming Lord Ganesh on Ganesh Chaturthi today. The festivities will continue for 10 days with the immersion of deities on the final day. Take a look as we take your leave. Thanks for watching.
सुखकर्ता दुःखहर्ता वार्ता विघ्नाची पूर्वी पूर्वी प्रेम कृपा जयाची सर्वांगी सुंदर उदिशेंदुराची कंठी झळके माळ मुक्ता फळांची जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ती दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ती जय देव जय देव जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ती दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ती जय देव जय देव सुखकर्ता दुःखहर्ता